We've got new Heresy Era Apothecaries, an absolutely enormous Imperial Knight, Games Workshop managing to sell out of their new kill team ridiculously quickly, and some rather interesting new glimpses of the future, some of which are definitely 40k related. Let's talk about some things on the horizon from Games Workshop. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today I thought we'd do a roundup of a few things that maybe didn't really need their own video in their own right, but a bunch of things that I found interesting related to Warhammer 40k, a few upcoming releases, a few teasers, and the news that Games Workshop seems to be selling out of kill team kits just as quickly as before, at least for most of the world. Kicking off with the kill team release, and around about 24 hours ago Games Workshop released the pre-order for Kill Team Salvation, the first of their next wave of kill team boxes set on their Aqua world, and this one perhaps being a particularly interesting box set, pitting Eldari striking Scorpions against Space Marine Scouts, two really quite hotly anticipated kits for their factions. Space Marine Scouts are rather good in game right now, and the Eldari will be happy to see yet another aspect actually reimagined in plastic eventually. This big box had a different feel compared with quite a lot of Games Workshop's previous kill team releases. For most of the ones last year, they tended to bundle these new squads releasing alongside kill team terrain, so basically getting around about half a board's worth of interesting terrain pieces of one sort or another. While they were set on the Space Hulk, it was a whole load of things for boarding actions / the Into the Darkness sort of sequence from kill team. Now though, it looks like what they're going to be doing for this set of releases going forward is just giving you a bit of scatter terrain, as you can see with the generator type things in the back here, and keeping the box set actually properly focused on the miniatures themselves, and having the terrain set available as a separate option if you want to pick it up as their Killzone Beta Decima. As a result, the price tag for this box set was considerably cheaper, £80, €105 or $130, and overall I suspect that will represent a solid enough discount on buying the individual miniatures separately. It looks like the Scout Squad is probably going to be sold in 2 individual batches of 5, which is probably going to be at least £30 per box set. Never mind what the Striking Scorpions cost. Basically it was looking like it was going to be an in-demand box set. It's the first content for the new Kill Team season, and it's also the first way that you can get your hands on a whole bunch of different miniatures for Warhammer 40k. And it does look like, true to form, at least most places in the world, this has sold out near instantly from Games Workshop. Supply only lasting, I think, a few hours after release in most locations due to Games Workshop's queuing system, which did kick in seemingly automatically on the web store. Currently, at time of recording at least, it appears to be gone from pre-orders for the UK, EU and Australia, all those marked as temporarily out of stock, so I guess it's not impossible that they might release a new wave of it or something, or that might just be completely gone for good. At time of recording, it still seems to be present on the US and Canadian web stores, marked as available while stocks last. I'm not sure if that will still be the case when this video goes out in a few hours' time though. Obviously very predictable for these box sets. Basically all the Kill Team box sets have tended to sell out near enough instantly, just given the fact that people know that the miniatures won't be coming back for individual release for a good few months yet, and people are keen to get their hands on them. I guess there might well be a few more copies of these allocated to physical brick and mortar stores as well as the online offerings, so it could be worth checking again when they go out. I believe that they're going to be shipping on around the 15th of January, so not for quite a while yet. Maybe a bit weird having an extended 3-week pre-order if it's going to go out of stock pretty much instantly. In any case, let me know if you are thinking about picking this one up and whether or not you are able to get one where you are. Look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. Next up, for some new Space Marine releases, we've got a couple of Heresy Era Apothecaries that Games Workshop teased on Warhammer Community on Thursday, one in Mark 6 Corvus armor and one in Mark 5 Heresy armor. Oddly enough, out of all of the Heresy Era armor patterns, that one's probably one of the most rare that we see. The one that has rather a lot of studs all over it. Fairly straightforward, simple miniatures, these ones, armed with chainswords and the Narthesiums, capable of patching up their fellow battle brothers mid-fight. They give the squads a feel no pain type save in Heresy, and Apothecaries revive models in 40k if the squad's taken casualties but not been destroyed. Kind of fun to see the Mark V armoured one. Does make me wonder whether Games Workshop might release the Mark V armour as its plastic kit in due course. Given that they've got 3, 4 and 6, it does feel a bit conspicuous by its absence. As with most of the rest of the Heresy Era character range, these guys are going to be Forge World resin miniatures, so not in plastic. That's a bit a big turn off to quite a few people, and they will be more expensive than if they were plastic minis. and they come as a set of 2 labelled an Apothecarion detachment pack, so 2 characters in one set as opposed to just one. According to the article, they'll be releasing sometime in January, so I guess look out then if you want to get your hands on these guys. Next up, for one of Warhammer's very biggest releases, I don't usually tend to pay as much attention to the Joy Toy action figures that they come out with as sort of peripheral merch to 40k. Some people really like them, other people basically have no interest, but I did find this one perhaps to be just particularly interesting, just for the sheer ridiculous scale of the thing that they're going for. These Joy Toy action figures have done really quite, perhaps a surprising amount of 40k releases now. Loads of different flavours of Space Marines and various other factions within the setting, like Sisters of Battle and things. It seems that scale isn't going to put them off releasing something truly enormous though, as they've just announced that they're coming out with an Imperial Knight Knight Paladin, the one with the Reaper Chainsword and the battle cannon. The scaling on Joy Toy miniatures is around about 3 times the scale that Warhammer 40k would be, and it does seem that they're going to be keeping to the same scale for this guy, so this guy should be around about 3 times the size of a regular Imperial Knight that you could play in Warhammer. I've tried to scale match an actual Imperial Knight Paladin miniature to the knight as per the picture. This thing should be absolutely enormous. Apparently it towers at just over half a metre in height, around about 20 inches tall, and really quite a big, wide, chunky miniature as well. Imperial Knights are fairly bulky things. It looks like its measurements maybe aren't really all that far away from things like a Warlord Titan that you could play in Warhammer 40k, and I had seen some people joking that they might well just buy one of these and proxy it as that, though I suspect that this one's still going to set you back really quite a lot, though admittedly far less than a Warlord Titan would. I've honestly got no idea exactly what this thing is going to cost, other than I'm sure it will be very, very expensive indeed. Looking at their existing range, it looks like their Nemesis Dread Knight version is a $400 action figure miniature. I'd guess based on that, this might be somewhere between $600 and $1,000 based on the same sort of scale. I expect if you want one of these ridiculous things towering over your gaming table or something like that, it's going to set you back quite a way. Could be a pretty cool display piece, I think. I believe that they come painted, and apparently this thing will be releasing in January sometime, so maybe not too long for those of you mad enough to want one of these in your gaming room. Finally, I thought we'd do a quick roundup of a few of the ongoing Advent Engine teasers that Games Workshop have been coming out with each day over December. I did a short roundup of those the other week, and I'll just briefly mention the ones that we talked about already, but these are the new ones since I did that last video. Mostly kind of vague hints that you can't really too clearly tell which miniature they're coming from, but a few of them do seem really quite clearly Warhammer 40k, a few of the top 4 in particular. On the top left, that does very much look like an Astra Militarum standard. It has the same sort of panel sections as the one that you'd see on the Cadian Command Squad or other miniatures before it, and the little Imperial shield sort of regiment symbol doesn't really do anything to dispel that. Looks like it's taken a bit of a battering with a couple of bullet holes and a couple of minor bits of chips of damage. It does look like a clothy material type thing to me though. And I guess my first guess would be another command squad coming for the guard, maybe something like Deathcore, Krieg, or perhaps Catachans. They're the other 2 plastic lines currently. Deathcore, Krieg don't have a command squad, and the Catachan range is kind of very dated and really needs updating, so maybe most likely one of them. Otherwise, we've got a sword and a scabbard. Looks Imperial given the skull heraldry, and it looks like the end of the sword has a little bit of text on it, perhaps giving it a feel of a sort of knightly character. If I had to guess, maybe something for the Dark Angels. I feel like it wouldn't look out of place on one of their heroes, or something Deathwing perhaps. Otherwise, there's a sensor, which really could be from just about anything. Certainly could be a fantasy miniature, but again, Dark Angels are known to use them really quite heavily in their designs, and given that they've got a release coming up, seems very likely that that one could be part of that. The smoky sort of effect is kind of similar to what they did with new Asmodee's backpack as well, which might help it tie in with designs there a bit. Finally, for perhaps the more clearly things that could be 40k, there's a Stormbolter on the middle right. Perhaps a bit of an unusual shape to be a Space Marine Stormbolter, though they certainly do reimagine them from time to time. Could be a character, or again something Deathwing for the Dark Angels potentially. Could equally be something Inquisition or Imperial Guard, maybe a new Inquisitor miniature, or even a new and reimagined Commissar Yarrick if Games Workshop did decide to bring him back with the next Guard Codex. Maybe wishful thinking there though. Otherwise, on the bottom left, it looks like there's something chaotic. I guess that could be off some sort of Chaos Demon engine for 40k conceivably. It feels like it's vague enough that it could be fantasy. It does have a few rivets, and I guess we know that Chaos Space Marines are getting at least one new miniature in the not too distant future, so it's possible for them. And finally, though it's probably not 40k, I did think that the guy who's doing some sort of poisoning concoction was really quite a fun and interesting little miniature part. That could be for virtually anything with Games Workshop specialist games, though. But either way, it looks like a fun little miniature. Otherwise, with the ones that we talked about the other week, there's a minefield sort of marker that certainly looks something for the Imperial Guard, though maybe not less clear exactly what. Could be a terrain or part of a stylized scenic base, maybe. There's a servo skull that's dispensing something, maybe parchment, potentially bandages for a medic miniature. Again, I guess that could go in with a command squad, or maybe an individual apothecary style miniature for a faction. There's a skeleton reliquary that's got a purity seal on it. Perhaps looks like he's mounted on the back of a different miniature as a sort of trophy rack, but probably Imperial as opposed to Chaos if that is a 40k purity seal. And then a bunch of things that may be a little bit less specific 40k, some stylized feathers that maybe could be Blood Angels if we were feeling lucky, maybe more likely to be some sort of actual bird though. A Nurgle Tome of Spells, but nothing in that picture to really suggest that it's 40k and not fantasy. And then the edge of a cape, which looks like it has got some sort of flowing pendants on it. Could be the same sort of purity seal type things that are in the skeleton type photo. Could maybe be Space Wolf fur or some other character. Maybe some other fancy Inquisitor or peripheral Imperial agent, perhaps. Usually with these rumour engines, they don't usually tend to leave us hanging too long after these. I guess we'll probably get some form of model reveals on Christmas Day. They often do showcase one or two interesting things then, and they tend to have a reveal teaser show towards the end of the year as well, so it'll be fun to go through that and see if we can see anything obvious. Broadly out of this, though, looks like it's perhaps surprisingly good news for the Imperial Guard, a few things that seem really specific to them. Maybe some cause for hope that they could be one of the codexes that turn up within the next year, and they're not waiting towards the very end of the edition like last time. In any case, let me know what you think of the teasers. Did you manage to get your hands on kill teams if you wanted them? And let me know your thoughts on Space Marine Apothecaries and Massive Imperial Knights down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I do tend to post new ones just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help support and keep all of these coming. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.